referring to God can only be used.
Yes, I, Supreme Majesty, the one who brings order between Christians and Muslims, was one of his many titles, besides King of Kings, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God. In the name of Allah. So here, in the Surah, Surah 582, in the Holy Quran, it mentions the Falashan Ethiopian Hebrews, who are also Orthodox Christians amongst the Abyssinians in Ethiopia. Strongest amongst men in enmity to the believers wilt thou find the Jews and pagans, and nearest among them in love to the believers wilt thou find those who say, we are Christians, because amongst these are men devoted to learning, and men who have renounced the world. That means men who have renounced the world system, and they are not arrogant. Go down to the subtitles. They would say, it is true we are Christians. We understand, and we know you are good men. They are Muslims at heart. You see, the definition of Muslim or Muslim, one who submits to the will of Almighty God, one who is submissive. And Christian in the Sanskrit is one who is anointed in that Hebraic custom. So these titles are one and the same. Man's religion divides, but to be one who is truly God-fearing and recognizes the omnipresence of God within themselves as a true Muslim spiritually, therefore becomes anointed or christened as a true faithful Israelite of spirit. The Prophet Muhammad warned his followers, the first Mohammedans and the first Muslims, to make peace with the monarchy of David. They knew that was the original Falashan Ethiopian Hebrew Israelites from the tribe of Yehuda, and that line is from King David, King Solomon, and Queen Makta of Sheba. And that connection from ancient Israel, the true Israelites in Ethiopia, as Orthodox Christians and Israelites. So the Prophet Muhammad warned his followers, do not go into the monarchy of David in Abyssinia, Ethiopia, but go elsewhere to bring the true faith of Islam. See, this was before the true message of the Prophet Muhammad, and true Islam was distorted. If you go to the Surah 997, it speaks of the other types of Arabs, the Bedouin, Arabs of desert, are the worst in unbelief and hypocrisy, and most fitted to be in ignorance of the command which Allah has sent down to his apostle. But Allah is all-knowing and all-wise. So this is why you have today the hypocrisy of the more pale red Arab descent as opposed to the original direct descendants of Ishmael, including the Prophet Muhammad himself. You know, more of the original, Arab descent to that part of Arabia, Mecca. But then you had parts of these other groups, so-called Muslims today, that go into parts of North Africa and genocide and claim to be Pan-African and get caught up in the counterfeit of Islam-ism, or should I say the counterfeit of true Islam, which would be Islam-ism, and contradictory to the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. This is more connected with another blood lineage that's integrated with, other peoples, other tribes. Took part, just like white supremacy, in that role of slavery, so-called African slavery, with that particular people, Shemitic people, and the descendants of the Hebrew Israelites. You have other speakers and dictators, even spiritual leaders like Louis Farrakhan. And some people say, nah, he's racist, you know, that's Islam, the Nation of Islam. You see a lot of these different types of street corner Hebrew Israelites won't even give you the time of day if you're so-called Caucasian or white. See, this man will say, you know, 1 out of 1,000.
To fight unjust wars
those of
for the rich.
The Gentile flesh and blood that spiritually they see as Muslim, spiritually, whose hearts and minds have been washed
You are to be a
from the evil and hatred of white supremacy. And they know their roots even as the Nation of Islam and as Muslims, that they are the people of Israel.
In Iraq and dying in other places on the basis of a lie told by our government.
I remember the ancient words of Allah. Proclaim the pilgrimage among men. They will come on foot and upon lean camel. They will come from every deep ravine. From Mecca, the holy city of Islam, I wrote to friends in America, never have I witnessed such sincere hospitality and true brotherhood as is practiced here in this ancient holy land, the home of Abraham, Muhammad, and all the other prophets of the Holy Scriptures. You may be shocked at these words coming from me, but what I have seen has forced me to rearrange much of my thought patterns previously held, to toss aside some of my previous conclusions. For during the past 11 days, I've eaten from the same plate, drunk from the same glass, slept on the same rug, and prayed to the same God, with fellow Muslims whose eyes were the bluest of blue, whose hair was the blondest of blonde, and whose skin was the whitest of white. We are truly the same because their belief in one God has removed the white from their minds, the white from their behavior, and the white from their attitudes. Wearing the Ihram garb of a pilgrim, I made the 7 circuits around the Kaaba. I drank from the sacred well of Zemzem. I ran between the hills of Safa and Marwa. I stood on Mount Ararat and with my brothers proclaimed, I come, O Lord, I come. God is great. Lead us, O Lord, in peace. And for the first time in my 39 years on this earth, I stood before the Creator of all and felt like a complete human being. Sincerely, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, Malcolm X.
Same song!
We all gonna sing the same song. Sing along with me, sing along with me. We all gonna sing the same song. We all gonna sing the same song.
Whether you're a bubble, whether you're an orthodox, if you want to be a big natty whether a great tribe of Israel,
All gonna sing the same song.